Good evening, good evening. I am here. I'm a little bit tardy, but my game actually ran a little bit late, so I do apologize about that. So, so to anybody that made it on, glad to see you here, and I welcome you to G's One of One for the first time. If you're here for the first time, welcome. So we got four people. Who's in here? Traveling T. Yes, it is scheduled for tonight. I do apologize. I was a couple minutes tardy. Darian, what's up, man? Appreciate you joining me tonight. Just came in to say hello and shoot the breeze with y'all. Do a little live question and answer. That's why we doing. Let's chat about it. You're going to be fired. Oh man, hey, it's been a whirlwind. I had so much going on for the last uh, I want to say couple of weeks. Two birthdays and Christmas. Well, three. I'm sorry, three birthdays and Christmas between my mother's, my son's, and my daughter's birthday and Christmas. It's just like a whirlwind when it hits that last week of December. So, I just wanted to get on here and do a live chat because it's been a while, and just catch y'all up to speed with me and catch up with y'all. That's why I didn't do anything formal. Next week, there'll be a formal title because I had my annual physical this coming Thursday, along with, or Wednesday, I think it's Wednesday, along with all of my annual blood work. So, which I haven't viewed since May. So that should be interesting. Yep. Hey, she is Tamika. Hello, Jen. And anybody else that is in here tonight, I do appreciate you all for joining me on this Sunday night. I'm going to try to get back to my Sunday evening lives. I will be more than likely back to work, not this Monday, but the Monday after this coming Monday. So the week will probably be off limits. So I'll be going back to, like I said, my Sunday nights. So like I said, I do appreciate y'all for stopping by and I'm gonna get back into my rhythm. So what up? Diriam says, "What up, Doctor Jen?" What up, Doctor Jen? Give me 1 second. I'm gonna try to put it on filter it. All right, there we go, Darren. We on subscribers, so it should lessen the work, lessen the work around these parts. So, uh, yeah. So yeah, I just wanted to get on tonight and just do a live chat because it's been a while and a lot has happened. I'll jump right into it since we got a few people in here. And I was late. So next week, I'll just say it now. More than likely next Sunday, I'll try to be more punctual and get on here by 7 or 7:30. To make sure that nobody's actually has to wait. And like I said, I'll be going over my actual the annual physical along with that lab work. That should be a very interesting chat. So we'll do that. So about me, basically, I am healing up, from the foot surgery, and I have noticed that, and I'm about to address something. That's why I'm leading up to it this way. So just hang on. So with me healing, I wasn't able to do as much of the resistance training and movement that I did in the beginning of my journey over the last 2 months. So I got a good bit of food noise, and my weight finally, like, kind of, I hesitate to say stalled or plateaued because I had lost so much for so long. I lost every single week, probably for a good 40 weeks straight. I never had a gain. So but over the last 2 months, because I just completed my week 51, I'm going into my week 52 right now. So we enter in week 52, which will be my 1 year. So I probably have probably two different lives, or two different conversations, maybe one live and one video, one covering my 1 year and then one covering my lab work. I want to say probably next week because two things are going to happen within that span. I'm gonna end up having my annual physical, like I said, in the middle of the week that I'll cover on the Sunday, and then my actual 1 year will be Monday. So I may just cover it both, I'll probably just cover it both next Sunday because that would technically be a day shy of my 1 year. So, but at 51 weeks, well, I say in 45 weeks, I actually was able to lose 28% of my body weight and 91 pounds, so I think that's amazing. Obviously when I set out on this journey on January 5th, my goal was to actually lose 100 pounds, right? So to just be 9 pounds shy of that, I think that's pretty damn good. You know what I mean? Because a goal is just that, until you hit it. So it was just an arbitrary number that I kind of put out there, because to me in the very beginning of this, when I was kind of ignorant in the beginning of the journey to the process, that is the GLP-1. It was just 100 pounds was something that would actually take me out of the actual official term obesity, in a clinical setting, right? When I get paperwork after a weigh-in, I would simply be overweight, So me being at 219 pounds would do that. So I've gotten down to 228 pounds, so that's where I'm at. And I actually been fluctuating between 228 and 232. 233. So I've been fluctuating between that 5 pounds. But seeing as how I'm just at my 1 year mark, that's definitely not maintenance, So I hesitate to that because I know people say, well, maintenance. It's not maintenance for me because the thing is, I haven't been as active as I was in the beginning. So I know with activity, I'm actually going to lose more weight. I'm sure of it. You know what I mean? I've been doing activity, but it was kind of dumbed down and I wasn't doing the actual consistent cardio, like I did before because I couldn't use the feet and ankles. Resistance training, I have been doing workouts 3 days a week. So I want to say at least for the last 3 weeks, I've been working out at least 3 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, and then I rest after that. So I'm going to break it up when I go back to work. I'll probably do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday, something like that. But I was just going straight through because that's when I really felt motivated to do it on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. The weekends are a little bit harder because I'm active. So even though I wasn't working out on Thursdays and Fridays, in the weekend, I was doing things. I was everywhere doing everything. So I still was getting, steps and stuff in. So that's why I don't feel bad. But Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, not so much. So that's why I chose those as the calm days. The kids is in school, and that's where I could just, focus and kind of work out. Those days my family was busy. My wife's at work, and the kids are at school. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, I think I did like a Thursday before. Those are the easier days for me to kind of get to it because I just had I was able to focus on those days. The weekends, like I said, not so much. So. And in doing that, I did gain some muscle over the last couple of weeks, and not gain fat. So that's really a plus. I think that's positive. I've gained some muscle, minuscule. Nothing serious because I haven't been able to lift weights the way I want to. But I have got the movement back, and I feel a lot more flexible with the resistance training. So I went back to my old tapes that I used to use where I lost that 25 pounds before GLP-1, and I've been doing those. It's a series of like 4 tapes where you do workouts for multiple, like 4 days a week, 3 to 4 days a week in succession, and it pretty much works to get that human growth hormone up and help to kind of drop weight and boost the testosterone. So those specific movements that I be doing. So, I feel like it's a really good tool. So I definitely, like I said, been utilizing that real consistent. So and tomorrow I'll be right back at it. So and then like I said, I'll modify it when the week comes in next the following week. When I'm back to work, but. I did do a thing for the food noise, and what I did with that is I actually titrated up to the 12.5 from the 10. I didn't think I would, but here I am. So that's why I said, like on one of my most recent videos, that I hesitate to say what I will never do because there are things that you might do, within the journey once you figure out you need to do them. You know what I mean? And I felt like I needed to do it, so that's where we are, with that. Yeah, so I took my first shot last night. Typically, I take my shot on Fridays. I did not. Hello, Kim. How are you? Kim saying hello. Dear said, I'm not on your care team, but your body has been through it since your surgery and trying to find some more normalcy. I'm sure your body will react when it heals a bit more. Yeah, man, I think so too. You know what I mean? It really has, with the surgery and all that, and just trying to get back. It definitely is a thing, man. You can't ignore it. So again, I didn't titrate up because of not losing the weight the way I was, because I knew that would happen. I knew I had to get to a point where I would just my body would say, "Whoa, wait a minute. You've been losing weight for 11 months. We gotta slow this train down." You know what I mean? So I understand that. I titrated up because of the food noise. I was getting food noise that I hadn't had since the very, very, very beginning. And the thing is, it's not even so much of not wanting to deal with it at all, because I think we all still deal with it. But it was to the point where I was like, okay, this is a little more than I'm comfortable with, on top of, you know, not, really getting that movement with the scale anymore. You know what I mean? So really it's more of a precaution, I feel like, than anything. That I do it now, before I go back to work, to see how I got a nice week where I can see if I have any kind of like side effect. Because when I moved up to the 10, I instantly had, the side effect that I dealt with, which was like the increased heart rate and everything. So we shall see, because I'm just about 24 hours into that 12 and a half, you know what I mean? So I'm not going to sit here and say I'll never use 15, because I said that I probably would never go past 10, right? So I'm not going to say that, right? I'm not going to say, okay, Jen, yeah, that's what it is. It's food noise. Because that's what it is for me. It's not necessarily weight loss. 'Cause like I said, being at 228 pounds, that's 90 pounds, a little more than 90 pounds from the beginning. It's not just the weight loss. Like I said, I did stall a little bit, but that was to be expected, because I only have about 28, 30 pounds to lose. You know what I mean? Like tops. I'm not trying to lose much more than that, because like I said, I only want to, probably get down to 200 or just under, 198, 199, 200 pounds. Because what that does for me at 6 foot tall, it puts me at a 26.9 BMI. And that's right in that range where BMI is considered, if you look at the new factors surrounding BMI, 27 is kind of right around or just shy of it, where it's really safe. You don't necessarily have to get to it below, the 24, that 24.9, 25 to be healthy, because BMI is skewed. So you got to give it that little bit of space, those little 2 points to kind of like make it a fair scale. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm saying, if I get to 20, for me to be 26.9, I had to be like 199 pounds. You know what I mean? And I'm only, 29 pounds away from that. You know what I mean? So if I could, and that's not a lot of weight. You know what I mean? And I feel like with some consistent working out that I plan to do with my recomp, because this year is about a recomp. That's what I feel. Because I mean, truth be told, a lot of us, if we honest, at some point it's not about weight anyway. It's more about like your composition of the way your body is structured, as long as you're healthy, right? And for me, my biggest issue is my midsection, because I still have that midsection love handle that I'm not necessarily comfortable with, that I don't like the look of. It's not as pervasive as in the past, but it's still there, you know what I mean, to the point where I'm not 100% with it. With me losing the weight that I've lost, I want that to go with it. So that's just like the last thing, you know what I mean? And what I attribute that to is body fat percentage, right? So my body fat percentage is still at 30, right? I'm still at 30. My BMI is 31 right now. My body fat percentage is 30, So I believe I have I'll be getting another scale soon. But based on my scale that I've used all this time, that's what it's telling me. My body fat is still at 30%. And my ultimate goal is to get that to 20%, right? Now, when I started out, my body fat was kind of like, was almost at a 40. You know what I mean? My body fat was probably right around 40, Everyone has their why. Some folks want health, others want to fit back into a preemie and 5T. Do what works for you and your goals. Yeah, you know what I mean? So that's the thing. Like, you know what I mean? It's obviously it started with health. Everybody know that's seen my journey from the whole story straight on through. It was all about health at first, right? We'll see my lab work that I'll go over with y'all next week. Shortly, probably tomorrow. I'll probably be able to access it tomorrow. I'll go over and start looking at it. But ultimately, I've done that, and I'm looking forward to, like I said, just that last portion of recomp. You know what I mean? And that's, like I said, around that midsection. Because I always said that if I was able to get anything like some folks started with skinny. They did, and I didn't. I was never skinny, and I'm not trying to be. I just don't. Darian, you know what I want to do? I want to simply be able to wear my shirts and not feel uneven. right? And what I mean by that is I don't want to have a larger top, go in a little at the middle, and then go round at the midsection, then small again. You know what I mean? That's that skinny fat look that I don't necessarily have with clothes on, but without clothes, I feel that. You know what I mean? And I don't want that. I want to be to the point where it's like, nothing crazy at all, but just proper symmetry. I'm not trying to do, any bodybuilding stuff, looking for abs. I ain't looking for no abs, none of that stuff. I'm really not. I'm just simply looking to actually just be proportioned appropriately. And I just think that with me losing so much weight, I do have some subcutaneous fat there, from actually, being as large as I was, that even with the working out, I don't know if it's gonna get to what I like, and before I consider any kind of lipo or anything like that, I want to make sure I'm at a healthy BMI, you know what I'm saying, or a healthy weight. And for me, like I said, and again, with notable doctors and what they've said, 26, 27 is a good BMI to be at before you consider something like that. You know what I mean? So for me, I need to kind of get closer to like 200 pounds, so if I can lose another 20, 30 pounds, then I'll be safe consulting with somebody about what's left. You know what I mean? If there's something that, along with my working out, because I'm going to be doing that the whole time. So for this whole year it's literally going to just be about doing the working out that I can do. I'm not doing nothing insane. You know what I mean? I'm doing basics, but I just want to get back to the basics that I started with before my surgery. You know what I mean? That's kind of like what I'm saying. So if I can do that, I'll be satisfied. That's the main thing. And just be, what I feel like my normal is. You know what I mean? And like I said, that's just proper, circumference. I'm not trying to, have the big V shape, shoulders out here and the bottom, you know what I mean, like sucked in, and I'm, could do a modeling bodybuilding thing. No, I'm not talking about none of that. Hey, JC, how are you? How are you? Good evening. Good evening. So that's the whole thing. I'm definitely not trying to do nothing like that. I just, like I said, want to be able to just be appropriate proportion. You know what I mean? So if I got a t-shirt on, you know what I mean, and I'm taking a picture or a video, I don't feel like, my love handles is capturing all the attention. You know what I mean? So that's kind of like it. You know what I mean? So, and I can, again, with me losing the next 20, 30 pounds, and working out, kind of, lifting weights and recontouring, my body. I think I'm going to get, pretty much most of where I want to be anyway. I'm just simply speaking of something simple that I would consider having done, non-invasive, you know what I mean, or light that would help me, to just, because I'm not looking for like, skin removal, none of that kind of stuff, because I don't have any of that. I literally just have that spare tire around that midsection, a little bit. You know what I mean? It's not even nothing that you can really see in clothing like that, but I know it, I see it, and I want to be able to put on any shirt that I want and not see it. And the same thing if I was to, go somewhere with my kids, you know what I mean, and in the summertime and not have my shirt on, it doesn't look strange. You know what I mean? It's not like, I got that, like I said, that bottom half. So that's pretty much it. So nothing deep, But yes, the food noise, that was something I was talking about. I did notice it, a lot more. Let me just, hold on one second. I did fix my camera. I did notice, a lot more over the last, like, I want to say month. And not just, like I said, due to not just due to Christmas, or the holiday, but just in general. I noticed I had, quite a bit more of that food noise. I could really, because it it's sneaky too. Food noise is really sneaky, because it's like you just subtly catch yourself like, man, that me just eating that had to be due to, you know what I mean, the food noise, because for all of this time I haven't had that kind of issue, and I ain't been, and it's just like sneaks up on you. So I feel like, it was a smart thing to do, because with the, not moving the scale and the food noise creeping up the way it was, I think it's the right thing to do, So, and again, I'm not going to say I won't ever be on a 15, but I don't plan to. I don't plan on going, because again, I really did this based on and again, I've been on this treatment for about a year, so it's not a quick titration. I was on the 10 milligram for 4 months. I was on 10 milligram for four months. Technically 5. Because I tried it before. If you guys remember back in May, end of May, beginning of June, I tried it then and came off, and I broke it up. I did 2 weeks, broke it up with the 7.5, then, went back to it. And again, it remains to be seen, even what the 12 and a half gonna do, because I don't know. I only took it for 1 day. And I'll tell you, I did have the quieting, I feel like, of the noise today, just with me taking it, and even taking my shot a day late, because this is probably a good stretch. I hadn't had my shot in 8 days, because I used to take it on Friday. So yesterday was day 8. I want to say not day 7, but day 8. I hadn't had anything, and then to take that shot. Today I was very subdued, it was, so I haven't had no food, I haven't had a zest for anything, so anything, like that. So how does your food noise show up in your life? Everyone is different and have different definitions. Oh, I think I just explained that. Yeah. So I think I was explaining it while you was typing it, Darian. But yeah, that's how it is. It's very, very subtle and sneaky. It's not like I go and knock the kitchen down and start like ravaging and looking for stuff, like that, because I don't. It's just that I noticed that. I'll tell you, it was more junk. You know what I mean? Like more junk food. That's what it was. I was eating junk food that I don't eat. And I'm like, what am I eating this? Like, you know what I mean? So it was kind of that. It wasn't I wasn't gorging on nothing. I wasn't like getting these big giant, meals I don't usually eat and stuff like. No, it was just like junk and stuff that I noticed that I was just going back into, falling, reverting back to, and like I said, and then with the weight, just not doing anything. 12.5 might be the one that gets you there. Yeah, it might be. I think so, Tamika, because again, with me being more mobile, I'm going to be more mobile while I'm taking this. You know what I mean? I am going to increase the times that I do take my my vitamin, because the one a day that I take is called Pro Edge, right? It's Centrum. It's a Centrum one a day, but it's Pro Edge. So if you ever especially for the men on here, if you look at it, what it is it's like a hyper amount of all of the vitamins. You know what I mean? It's like a much higher dose of it. So I only take that like twice a week, maybe 3 times a week, every now and then. But I don't take it daily. I can't. It's a lot of vitamin. So because I noticed like at Twan, she had mentioned going from the 12 and a half to the 15 and actually having to get injections because she had got a lot more tired and sleepy. So for me, 12 and a half could do that, and I may have to take that a little more regularly. So I'm not really worried, because I will lean on those if I get like the fatigue or the tired. Now, again, when people say fatigue, a lot of times I think that the fatigue a lot of times is probably because they're under eating, right? So you got to be wary of that. I make sure that everybody know I do intermittent fasting, so I eat pretty much twice a day. So the reason why I don't really worry too much about under eating is because I don't eat a lot of times a day, and I do make sure I eat the times a day that I'm supposed to. But sometimes I do the OMAD, and I end up doing the 1 meal a day, bigger meals. You know what I mean? So I'll be conscious of that. So Jen says only reason I'm on 15 because 12.5 did nothing for me. So don't poo 15. Poo 15. Yes, I can't. Let me put my glasses back on. I didn't see that many comments, so I took the glasses off. So it says, yes, I come home and eat junk at 7:30 in the morning. Oh my God, Jen. Only you, Jen. Good Lord. That is crazy. That is crazy. Darren says, I'm ready for the 20, 25, and 30. Oh my God, I'm being honest. Oh my goodness. Yeah, so honestly, Jen, I'm again, like I said, I'm not poo-pooing the 15. If I gotta be on 15, I'll be there. I talked about that in that titration video when I talked about people that actually I'm gonna lose my train of thought. Oh, people that actually was like shamed or embarrassed to titrate up to the higher doses, when in fact they're comparing themselves to people that actually had weight loss surgery, right? Because there's a lot of people in our communities that have had weight loss surgery. And in the moment, oftentimes we don't really think about that, and we're like, and again, you're not supposed to compare your journey, but being human, we naturally, do, you know what I mean? And it's not like a race or trying to compare necessarily loss to loss or percent to percent, but I'm saying just the actions of the things that we go through, right? Hey, Losing It with Grace, good to see you. Join the chat. Thank you for stopping by the page and hopping in here to chat with us tonight. So basically, what I'm saying is you shouldn't be embarrassed to titrate up if you need to. If you need to titrate up, you titrate up, because to break it down, you have individuals that remain on 5 and 7.5 and 10 that also had bariatric surgery, right? So there's a whole other trajectory with that we're discounting in the conversation when we actually speaking, even if you're speaking to them. Oh yeah, I didn't need to go up beyond a 7.5 or a 10. But you had surgery. You understand what I'm saying? So the thing is, you have 2 treatments working for you, whereas those people have 1. But yet still, that person is having a conversation with you and being bashful about, oh, well, you ain't have to titrate up, so why should, I don't think I should, right? I should, I mean, if I do, then it should be, I should be, like ashamed of that. No, because you're talking to people that have multiple treatments working for them at one time. And let me preface this too. I probably should say I'm also speaking to non-diabetic, right? Non-diabetic. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about people that are diabetic, right? I really feel like that's just such a complete nother conversation. You know what I'm saying? Folks like Darium and the other individuals who kind of struggle with getting those body weight to where a lot of us have and the higher percentages. It's totally understandable. You know what I mean? Like, as to why they don't have the same, reaction. So what I'm talking about is I'm simply talking about obese individuals who've had the surgery and are using the GLP-1, right? And then we have conversations, and the conversation is like, oh no, you don't want to be titrating up that high to those high doses. You should be able to do it at the dose you're on or lower, because that I can. But at the end of the day, right, you also had bariatric surgery, right? And we cannot just discount that. So we need to reel it in. And again, we don't want to, but we're gonna do it. Like, you know what I mean? We're gonna compare to each other, because we're in a community and we're talking about sharing feedback with one another about what we go through, right? So we're not comparing negatively, like, oh man, you doing this and I'm not. We having an open dialogue, and in that dialogue, a lot of times when we're trying to help one another, right? Because it's a helpful conversation, we might say, well, no, I think you probably could do it on this dose. You know what I mean? Right? You could do it on it. No, you're not guilty. You're not guilty. You're not guilty though, Grace. That's what this is exactly what I mean, right? Don't feel guilty. Don't be. It's nothing to be guilty about, because we're human and we're on the same type of journey, even though we're very different, have different biology, right? But we're on the same type of journey, right? It's a lifestyle which is forever, right? Forever. So I try not to say journey. I just, I should be saying lifestyle, because this is never going to end. You know what I mean? This is forever, right? So right now I'm gonna tell you, we are forever friends, all of us, right? All of us, right? We are forever, because we're on this journey together, right? Settle this once and for all. Participants on higher doses of weight loss medication generally lose more weight than those on lower doses. Yeah, no. I mean, that's a question. Like, just okay. Participants on higher doses of weight loss medication generally lose more weight than those on lower doses. Yeah, no. Yeah, no. Because remember, let's look at it this way, right? You still got to do other things. You got to do other things, right? So I think like when people see, oh, I lost 28% of my body weight, right? And they say 90, almost 100 pounds. I ain't just, go to my refrigerator, take a shot out and push the button, sit on the couch, and then it happened. That ain't what happened. That ain't what happened. I resistance trained. I used to walk in the rain. I used to walk in the rain, snow, sleet, whatever. I never stopped. I was doing that every day. Every day. I had a very consistent regimen that I was doing that allowed me to lose a whole lot in the beginning. You know what I mean? Like I was really out there doing it. Rain, sleet, and snow. Nothing stopped me. I was that determined to let weight come on, and weight was falling off of me, And I still say if I hadn't had to have surgery and had the pain that I was in regularly, and I still have pain, let me make that clear. My left ankle and foot, my left foot is probably, it has 2 issues with it. My right foot only had 1, because my ankle's good on my right foot, my right side. But my left side, my both ankle and foot, have issues, but my foot was my toe. I should say my toe. It's not my whole. My toe was not as bad as my other toe on the opposite side that I had surgery on, but my ankle is. So what I'm saying is I still have pain on the other side of my body, so I'm not able to do all that I would like to do. But if I didn't have that as an issue, oh, I can probably bet your bottom dollar right now I'll be probably down 120 pounds done in maintenance because that's who I am. You know what I mean? That's who I am. I'm literally the person that got to get it done. You know what I mean? So trust and believe. It takes a lot for me to actually, get to the point that I'm at and then slow walk it. You know what I mean? But that's what I'm doing because that's the best thing to do because to be injured stops everything, right? So I don't want to be injured and not be able to do anything. I'd rather do it a little bit slower than I'm used to, you know what I mean? And just get it done, right? And then maintain it. That's the whole thing, right? I don't want to just stop. My cousin got surgery, gained it all back. She had tummy tuck and fat removal from arms. Yeah, that's definitely that's the thing, man. You get the surgeries and then you gain it all back. But you know what though? That kind of says something to a lot of things. And I don't know her situation. I would have to know a lot more. What kind of food noise was she having? Was she also on a pen? You know what I mean? I don't know. What? Or did she just or is that like cosmetic surgery? Did she have weight loss surgery and be on the pen, or was it just cosmetic? Because it was just cosmetic, then we all know that's not enough. You got to like, help to kind of change your eating, you know what I mean? Change your eating and then make sure that you are, taking your treatment on a regular basis, to maintain, that weight or it will come back. I mean, for people, and that's why I mentioned if I was to even do something that's kind of minimally invasive, like a lipo around that midsection, it would be after I'm at the healthy weight, you know what I mean? And I see what I look like right then and there, you know what I mean? That's why I'm not doing that to next week, but I might do it in a year, you know what I mean? After I've spent a year trying to recomp and lose that 20, 30 pounds, you know what I mean? So, which would put me in a healthy range, right? Now she's better since getting on the pen and eating. Okay, so she on the pen now. Okay. Yeah, well, see that's the answer. She needed that because she probably was having that food noise. You know what I mean? No, so Grace was talking about feeling guilty, and I'm like, no, don't. I mean, because we all definitely want to, now, and again, the other thing is too, that's why I try to make sure everybody should really get comfortable using percentage because sometimes the other side of it is men versus women, right? You can't really compare men to women because in a lot of cases, men are a foot taller than the women we talking to, right? So if you're a foot taller, that puts you in another stratosphere, right? So you have to go for a percentage. Percentage evens that playing field still. It still lets you know where that difference is, you know what I mean? Because percentage is percentage, like, you know what I mean? Your percentage is your percentage. That makes it make sense. You know what I mean? But to compare weight, you know what I mean? When, you have a lady over here that lost 60 pounds and I lost 90, we might have still lost the same percentage, even though I lost 30 pounds more than her. You know what I mean? We probably did. She lost 60, I lost 90, but we in the same stratosphere because, she's a lady and she's, almost a foot shorter. You know what I mean? So, but when you look at percentage, that really kind of gives you the separation. It tells you what's, where the real business at. You know what I mean? Because if somebody lost 15%, you lost 30%, you worlds away. You know what I'm saying? Y'all in two different worlds. You know what I mean? We not in the same. You know what I mean? It's the same as somebody like me lost 28%, and I got somebody like Jen that lost 48%. You know what I mean? 49%. She, you know what I mean? She in another stratosphere. Now on the same token, everybody don't have 30% or 40% or 50% to lose, right? Because that's the Retta conversation right now, right? Where a lot of people are talking about, is there really a need to actually look at Retta at higher doses? Because a lot of people that are on Retta are in the gray market, and in the gray market with it being, stuff that are meant for animal testing, and not necessarily human testing, they're taking low doses and they're having success. So, and what we mean by success is they're losing, a good deal of weight, on the lower doses and actually, and I want to use that. I'm using that loosely, right? I'm losing that. Yeah, right. Ain't that something great? Yeah, Jen lost 49%. Jen is the female goat, man. I'm telling y'all, like people, y'all just don't know, man. Y'all do not know. Y'all do not know. Jen is something else on this stuff. That is Jen is absolutely that's the female goat I look at it as. Like I mean I hear a lot of women and stuff on this thing, but she's the female goat on this GLP-1 thing. But yeah, so I was talking about Retta, right? You know what I mean? So with Retta, they're looking at it like the 12 milligram might not even be useful, because when you dive deeper, right? And I want to say, because I didn't say yet, this is for, this is one man in his basement just having a conversation with people on the YouTube. I'm not a physician, so these are just my my experiences that I'm sharing with you, through the World Wide Web. So if you do decide to actually get on the GLP-1 or do anything in regards to your weight, you should definitely sit down and speak to a healthcare provider, one that actually is a professional that has studied obesity, to get the best answers for your own personal health after you have undergone an evaluation, right? Because I think you need to evaluate where the problem areas are. But what I was saying is, with the Retta, you might not even need to go into that 9 and 12 milligram, because you might actually get enough weight loss on the 6 or 8, milligram, if that's what they end up doing. Because remember, we still don't know exactly what they're going to end up releasing, because it's not FDA approved yet. But I think it's 2, 4, or 2, 6, 8, 9, and 12, or 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, and 12, something like that. Because the people that dropped out of the trials because they were actually losing too much weight, about, not all of them, but I'm saying about 18% of them, you know what I mean? And I'm doing this off of memory, like I said, I'm one of those people that's able to sit back, take in information, and then regurgitate it here. I'm not actually looking at the computer while I'm talking. So, okay. But I'm pretty sure I'm right most of the time with this kind of stuff, because I've looked at it extensively, right? Yeah. So Darren says 2, 4, 6, 9, 12. I think, yes, I think that's what it is. And a lot of, for some reason, I thought it was an 8 in there, but yeah, you're probably right, Darren. Most likely. But they're saying that a lot of people probably have in these the gray marker are like losing a ton of weight with the 6. You know what I mean? Because they aren't using the higher 9 and 12. But in the trials, to get to that 29%, and now remember, 29% was an average of weight loss, right, at the highest dose, right? And yes, they did. Oh, that's my daughter laughing. I know she up there laughing. She turned 7 yesterday. So for everybody to see, I did post some stuff on my personal social media. So if you didn't see it, go over and check it out. We took her out last week, but I know I thought I heard her. She up there laughing. But watching, she might be watching me. I told you she like my #1 fan, because she's always watching my YouTubes and stuff and telling me, how many views it is and all that stuff. Even when I don't know, she knows. She comes, she say, "Daddy, you got this many views, this many." So she's something else. She be on that YouTube. But so that's the thing. Like, they're saying that 18% of people that dropped out of the trial was because of too much weight loss, right? Because those people actually were seeing more than 30% loss, 35, and upwards of more weight loss, and not everybody has that to lose, right? Now, what I would like to, because a lot of times when I hear the weights of the trials, it's people that's probably like, they try to say that weighed around like 250, anywhere from like 220 to 250. And I think the average weight in this trial was 249 pounds, I believe, in the Triumph trials for the retatrutide. It was 249 pounds. And those people, on the highest dose lost an average of 71 pounds, right? And that's probably a lady. But if you're a man, right, in that trial, which they are trying to see more, you probably more on like the 300-pound range, right? You might lost probably right around 90, probably around 90 pounds if you add that little bit of a difference, because man versus female, and then you add that 50 pounds, or maybe, yeah, because if they lost 70, it's probably like, yeah, probably somewhere around 90 pounds. It'd probably be like me, it would be like me. I'll probably be a perfect case. I was 319 pounds. I lost 90 pounds. 91 pounds, you know what I mean? That's 28% of my body weight, 28.2, I believe, or 0.4, 28.4. So I'm right at the top of, like right there, like within that, the top average weight loss in 68 weeks. Here's what helps me to rein myself in when I say, hey, I've only lost 90 pounds in a year, and 28% of my body weight, is because retatrutide, that's not FDA approved yet, that the whole weight loss world is raving about, is claiming I think the baseline was a BMI of 40.4. Yeah, because it was 35 or more. 30, you had to be 35 or more. Yeah, 35, a BMI of 35 or more, I believe. You know what I mean? With comorbidities, and then 40 without. I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So and when I started this journey, my BMI was 43, right? So that goes into my point, right? My BMI was 43. And like I said earlier, right now my BMI is 31, right? My body fat is 30%, but I like to get it to 20%, right? Because that's what it's not just weight, right? So my point was, in that trial, the people that lost the 29%, right? That 70 some odd pounds, right? The 29%, right, was at 250. And if I'm a man, given the man's perspective, I was at 319. I'm 228, right now. I've lost 91 pounds and 28%. So kind of right there. Maybe a couple more pounds will put me, at that other one, that next 1%, probably like, 96 pounds, somewhere right around there, right? So, and that would be in 68 weeks. That's the promise of that new drug, that that's so coveted that everybody's waiting for, that want to get it. That is the I don't want to say the promise, but that is what they say the average weight loss would be in 68 weeks. I did that in 45 weeks. 45 weeks, I lost 90 pounds. So that's where I draw perspective for myself. You know what I'm saying? Because that shows me that I probably, like I outdid all of that. You know what I'm saying? Even right now. So, but in my head, I'm saying, well, realistically, I should have lost 120 pounds, by next week. You know what I mean? And be at 210. You know what I mean? So, 200 pounds. I'm sorry, the wrong math. 120 pounds, be at 200 pounds next week within 52 weeks. And that's actually overdoing it. You know what I mean? Like, and again, that's where we got to be careful, because we come up with things in our head that necessarily might not make sense. You know what I mean? So let me go back in the chat, because I know y'all did some stuff in the chat here that I missed. Oh, she said, what do I think I think I answered it too. Man, I think I'm answering these questions because right before y'all actually start talking, I think I actually literally already went into that. But I will go back and do it again because I didn't know she was going to ask that. So Grace said, what do you think the RETA BMI requirement will be? It is more than likely going to be 35, and then with comorbidities, and probably 41 without, 40, 41 without, probably 40. I'll probably leave it at a round number. It'll probably be 35, 40, which it should be. I mean, that makes perfect sense. You know what I mean? That is probably what makes perfect sense. You know what I mean? Because you probably should be a little bit heavier, because more than likely, based on the numbers, you're going to lose about 30% of your body, right? So for me, okay, so I'll just, like I said, I like to reference myself. So a nice round number, right? For me, being in the space that I was in at 320 pounds, for me to be a healthy weight, I would have to be about 180 pounds, which would be around 120 pounds loss. I would have to lose 140 pounds. I'm sorry, 140 pounds, right? To be at that being, but I have no desire. 120 pounds is my absolute max. I don't want to lose 140, right? Which would be, what is that? Like probably around 45% of my weight, something like that, right? I only have a desire to lose about 35% of my weight, and I'm at 28% now. So with me being just now hitting the 12.5 and getting ready to ramp my workouts up, I still have room to go to the 15 in an attempt to get that last 6, 7, 8% off, right? And so I'm very comfortable in knowing that I still have room to go into medication and lifestyle, physical activity that I can use to get where I want to go. So I think the medicine does do exactly what it says. You know what I mean? For some people, because I'm close. Because I want to be 37% down. I'm only about 9% off of where I want to be, and I think because I have two, steps to go, 12.5 and the 15 and some lifestyle stuff, I can get that percentage, within the next year, because those that remained in the trials longer to 88 weeks, they actually lost another, I want to say if 21% was it, I think they lost around like 24, 25. So they got another 4 or 5%, in total, you know what I mean, that remained on the drug. So again, I've been somebody that outpaced it all the time, right? So if the average is 21 and I outpaced that and I'm at 28, right, you know, which is about 7% above that, right? If you can lose an additional, 4 or 5%, I'm probably going to outpace that. You know, the same as I did, probably by a few percentage. So that would put me kind of right where I want to be. So I'm very comfortable with the fact that I know Mounjaro, Tirzepatide, Zepbound is the proper drug for me, and that, if I want to actually get to that 200, I just need to ramp up my lifestyle like I was and possibly titrate to 15. If I don't get there, I think I can get there probably with the 12 and a half and see how I feel and everything. But I still have that 15 in the back pocket if I ever need it down the road, And what I mean by that is I plan on being on 12 and a half for the duration. But if 6 months, 8 months from now, I have to go to 15, I'll do it. I'm not going to it in the next 3, 4, or 5 months. I'm not, because I really feel like I need that time, 3, 4, 5, 6 months even, to really let my body just move away from that surgery, get into the regular routine, and see where I'm at. And at that point, if I need to move to the 15, I will. Why not? Because there'll be other drugs that'll come along, that other treatments that if I want to do so, I can utilize. Jen says, I was like, geez, walking in the rain, walking when it was 90 degrees, walking when it was 15 degrees, walking when it's snowing. Yeah, what I mean? That's the thing. Like, these kind of percentages don't come from nothing. And if memory serves me correct, Jen, I think you said that you was like 65 pounds down in the first year, because I think you told me your weight loss was something like over like 120 now or something like that. I don't know. Refresh my mind. I could be off, but I think that's what that is for you. It's like 120, 130 or something like that you lost. But I think you was somewhere around like 70 or 80 pounds after the first year or something. Like half of that in the first year. And look at you. You've lost another probably 50, 60 pounds, over the following year. So that's why I'm like, I try to calm myself down, because I lost 90 pounds in the first year, right? So, I mean, come on. Everything in the world points to me losing another 20 or 30 pounds, for sure, with me staying on this treatment. So that's why I'm not worried, because I'm only 30 pounds away from what would be, Wonderland. What we got? So JC Calamity Jane says, at Grays, if it helps, I lost 48 pounds, 16.6 on 2.5 at 4 weeks, and 5.0 at 17 weeks. In my opinion, Grays is killing it. I'm proud of her. That's what Jen says. Absolutely. I tell her all the time. For Grays, I told her, I said, look at your pictures. Look at your picture. Go back and look at your first picture, the very first video you did, and look at the last short or video you did here recently. I mean, that should tell you right there, like how far you come. And the reason why I say do that, and I tell Grace to do it, is because I think that in living color really does something different for people. You can really look at it and see, like, well, you know what? Because it did it to me. Like, the first time I actually did a short on YouTube was in March. It was in March. And I waited till August to do like the side-by-side face. And man, what was that? What, 5 months? You know what I mean? And man, what a difference. What a difference. And then even going back to my other pictures, and mind you, I had lost, by the time I actually came on the YouTube airways and I started doing this, I was down like 38 pounds. Even still at that size from that video where I felt like my face was really big, I was already down 38 pounds. At that time, I was probably like, a 40. I probably was like 289, somewhere around there. You know what I mean? And then when I did it in August, I probably was at like, I don't know, I'm starting to quote now, but like 250 or something. I had lost, like a good another probably 40 pounds or something like that. You know what I mean? Or maybe like 30 pounds. On top of that. So it definitely matters to go look at those pictures. It really tells you where you at. Darren says, me too. Me too. Dr. Jen, Grace is doing well. JC claims, Jen, the thing about JC says the thing about those controlled trials is that they cut folks out who are on certain meds and also who don't have certain comorbidities outside of what they are testing for. So yes, I covered that, JC. So I do want to go back and just, because I was talking about people that us comparing to each other, because we naturally do that. We naturally compare which is okay. But we have to reel it in when we start talking to people that actually, number one, have diabetes. I said earlier, if you are type 1, type 2 diabetic, I just really think y'all deserve y'all a complete another conversation, because y'all have, it's just another world, dealing with actual diabetes and the weight loss. You know what I mean? Some of the opinions that I'm having, and I'm having when I'm having these conversations, is strictly for people that are non-diabetic. When I'm saying certain things, I'm saying out of my mouth, is literally about non-diabetics, because I think that it's unfair to really compare to people that, people that have diabetes. Is just, you dealing with a whole, you at a disadvantage. You know what I mean? For the most part, and I respect, I wholehearttly respect everybody that's a diabetic that is doing this and actually getting the percentages they're getting. Like you, JC, I mean, one being a type 1, that's just a whole nother ball game. You know what I mean? Even than type 2, it's different. I told you my dad's type 1. But that's just another conversation. So yes, the trials do sometimes, separate, but they also do trials just for those that have diabetics, right? And these trials cost millions and millions and millions of dollars. So it takes time, but I feel like they are catching up, right? They're catching up. They're doing trials for people that have all kind of comorbidities, because obviously the one with Reddit was all about osteoarthritis, you know what I mean, in the knee, even though my osteoarthritis was in ankle and toes. That is something that I think is a good thing, because it will answer those kind of questions that you have. You know what I mean? But when we were talking about the comparing and thing, we were I was talking about those individuals that are not diabetic, just straight up trying to lose weight, and they actually had weight loss surgery. So you had weight loss surgery, and now you're using the pen, and people that titrate up to a higher dose are feeling bad about doing so. They're feeling bad about, oh, well, I shouldn't be titrating up because the person over there is able to do this, right? And they actually are doing it on a lower dose. They're doing this at 7.5. You know what I mean? But they had weight loss surgery. That's another form of treatment you don't have. So it doesn't matter. Now, of course, Darium is going to say, well, just don't worry about nobody else today. But reality is, we are going to compare. So why not just talk about it? That's all. And frame it the right way. That's all. Darium says, go ahead, Jen. You're doing so well. And Grace says, oh, Chucks, thanks, you beautiful people. Jen says, I'm trying, Darium. JC says, I just think we need to focus on who we're responding, not the speed. We don't know the lives and circumstances of the people in the studies, etc. Yep, but that's why I just explained all of that. Because what they do, JC, is they also do show the numbers for people that dropped out, right? They do that because they want us to know the real world numbers too. The numbers that we talk about that are commercialized, those are for Wall Street, obviously, because they want the highest percentage, loss, because that's what actually, makes the stock market tick, right? But they do have, real world, dropout rate, weight loss, and obviously it is several percentage points lower than what the actual trials do. You know what I mean? The trials promote. So it is a bit lower. It is a bit lower. It's a bit lower than what you see. How long did you do Tim for? I just started for 4th month. Yeah, so we were close with that grades with how long. I did 10 back in May. I tried it because at that point I did 7.5 for several months, and I was losing, and I probably could have stayed on 7.5 even longer, but I said, I don't want this to stop. So I said I would titrate up. And I did, and I actually ended up having I already had a regular heartbeat, but it started to, like I said, be faster than I was comfortable with. So I did it for 2 weeks. At the end of May, then I basically went back to 7.5, and I did this purposefully. I didn't do it now with the 12.5, but I did it with the 10 because I knew that everything I heard, and I know Round Man had even put it out there that 10 was different, and it's one of those from the trial larger doses that actually cause like maximum suppression, right? So, and it takes time, right, with the body. So what I did was I saved the 2 of the 7.5s, and so I mixed it up. I did 2 weeks of the 10, went back to 7.5 because I had that issue, and then I went back to the 10 to try it again just to make sure, and it was kind of like the same thing. So I went back to 7.5 for another month. So technically, I want to say To make it easy or simple, I was only on 2.5 for 1 month, right? Because I knew that wasn't therapeutic. That's just not a therapeutic. I don't believe that's a therapeutic dose. Even if you're a diabetic and they prescribe you the pen for diabetes, Mounjaro, they give you a 5, right? So, and I manage a pharmacy. I said that before. So some of these things I know because I'm the person back there, you know what I mean? So I know like what's prescribed. So it's just amazing. Just like I knew about I know with the GLP-1 usage, it's a thing where as a society we're hiding, but so many people are using it, of all ages. But anyway, you get the 5 milligram as a diabetic, you know what I mean, when they prescribe that most of the time, you know what I mean. So I know that honestly, I felt like the first actual therapeutic dose that actually had meaningful effect for the masses. So don't hear what I'm not saying, because sometimes when we say stuff like this, people are like, well, you said, no. I'm not saying that 5 doesn't do it for some people, right? Because 2.5 did it for some people, but that's an anomaly. To have 2.5 do it for you, that's really an anomaly. But some people do get, do well on the 5. But for a lot of people, 7.5 was kind of like that first dose where they was able to stay on for a long time and lose a good deal of weight. That's 7.5 for a lot of us. Anybody that's actually in a real world community, you know what I mean? I'm talking about people you talk to, they 7.5 kind of like sustain. My wife on the 7.5 right now, right? And she's down 20, 25, 24 pounds right now. And she's been on for about 16 weeks, right? So she's down about 12% in 16 weeks. So I think she's doing like amazing too. So she was up there today, on the treadmill in the living room. So that's the one thing I'll tell you is she gonna get it off, because we're gonna do the work. You know what I mean? We're gonna do the work. We're gonna do the lifestyle, and it's gonna be, it's gonna be right. You know what I mean? I put pictures up. People see my pictures that I put. So if you haven't seen her, you can go to the shorts and look at the before and after. I ain't do a lot because I don't know 100% what she comfortable with, so I don't do that. I mean, she's very comfortable in her skin, but I'm saying I don't know what she want and what she don't. So I try to just keep it basic. So I only put, I put one before, and I mean the before pictures of what I'm talking about. I put a lot of pictures of my wife up there. I mean, because right now, I mean, she looked great, and her being down 24 pounds is amazing. I mean, she's like fitting, her inches have been dramatic and amazing. She's able to, fit almost 2 sizes smaller already, you know what I mean, in just a matter of months. So, because she had lost a lot of inches. But with her being down that 12%, you can go and look at the short and see just from the one that I put up with us at one of our events to us being on like the date night, we had, where you can see her transformation, as a female, how those inches do. So it's not always all about the weight, and the titration, because she on 7.5, even though I did take her, we did take her, up. A little aggressive in the beginning. We did stop. We just did 2 to 5 and got to the 7 and then kind of stopped. And we wanted to see what this 7.5 is going to do for her before we titrate up, to the 10. Because she does have a plan to go to the 10. But that's probably where she wants to remain for a long time. She's not trying to go where she don't need to, because again, she also doesn't have as much weight to lose as some others, right? Because she started under 200 pounds, right? And she's only trying to lose about 50 pounds. Right, and she's already halfway. She's halfway to that, right? 50. So that's the thing. And my wife is 5 feet. I'm 6 feet, so we're a foot apart. We're a foot apart. You know what I mean? But basically, yes, I think that the 7.5 is that dose. So I was able to stay on that, and I'm still answering Gray's question about how long I was on it. I was on the 2.5 for a month. I was on the 5 for a month. I was on the 4. Let's say March, April, most of May. 7.5. I was on 7.5 for about 3 months, 3.5 months. Went to the 10, then went back to the 7.5 for the duration of the whole summer, right? So I was on the 7.5 most of my journey. And then now the 10 is kind of rivaling that, because I started the 10 in September, right? And I just went to 12 yesterday, right? So September, October, November, December, 4 months, I was on that 10 milligram. And if you count my 1 month in the summer, 5. So 5 months out of 12, I was on 10 milligram, right? 2 months on the bottom 2 doses, right? So, and if my math is correct, 5 months also on the 10 total, right? So half the journey, on the 7.5, half the journey on the 10. If that makes sense. Half the journey 7.5, half the journey on the 10 milligram. That's kind of what happened. So now 12.5. That's where we at. We at 12.5. And I'm gonna try to ride that one out till the wheels fall off. You know what I mean? But if I gotta go to 15, that's where I'm going. I'm gonna go wherever I need to go to be in a healthy space, because that's what we're doing it for, right? But back to the comments. So Jen said I lost 100 pounds in a year, 124. Okay, see, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about. See what I mean, Jen? You lost 100 pounds in a year, right? And so I'm just 9 pounds away from that, from 100 pounds in a year. So that tells me that, and you lost 25. So you're literally on the same trajectory, right? That I would like to be on, right? Because now I'm only talking about losing a maximum of another 30 pounds. You know what I mean? And if I'm if I you know, well, I think my math is correct. If I 120 pounds, like I said, from my start puts me at 199, right? So that's actually, you know what I mean, like the bottom of where I would want to be anyway. So it makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense that's the way it happened for you, Jen, because that's what I feel like I'm at with it. You know what I mean? Like you know, I'm right there, you know, losing that 90 some odd pounds. This is the time where it kind of slows down and then it'll ramp back up, you know, when it is that, you know, it's supposed to. So let me go back into the comments. But that 124 pounds was obviously 49% for Jen. Darren says, amazing at Jen. I'm sure you've got the secret sauce. Thanks, Tamika. JC says, great job, Jen. That was my experience with the Weight Watchers back in 2012. Lost 100 pounds in a year. And not sharing it on YouTube. Laugh out loud. Thanks. 124. Oh, so losing grace is 124 pounds. Dr. Jen, yes. She is Tamika says, yes, your pictures, Grace, shows your progress. Your thumbnail says it all. I told you. JC says, exactly. Grace, you are killing it. Jen says, people didn't even say anything to me until I lost 50 pounds. It's hard to see on ourselves. Yeah, it is. It is. Because my wife always says, she be like, I ain't see you like that. And you know what it is because Christopher over at the Downsize had said to me, you know, like the thing what we do is when people say that, it's not like the weight came on all at once. It's so gradual that's why, you know, most people don't notice it, you know, until you actually utilize a picture. Guys, seriously, stop make my head grow bigger. That's from Grace. So true, Gen F. Dealing with any metabolic or hormonal disorder, JC says. It is true, diabetics were excluded from RETA trials. Were in some type 2 were some. Yes, they were. Type 2 were in some RETA trials. That's what I'm saying. I'm trying to tell everybody, like, they are covering the bases because, okay, think about it, right? These conversations that we had, you guys do know that Eli Lilly and Novo had people just like myself that work for them that are in our on our YouTube. That's in these conversations. I hope you guys know that because they are here. They're here. They're watching. You know what I mean? They know what it is that people say. Like when we say, "Oh, there's no trial for this." Yeah, it is. And if you think it's not, you just ain't heard of it yet. It's happening. It's happening. Why? Because they're cornering the market. These weight loss or metabolic drugs, let me just say metabolic drugs, right? Because with all of this, the CagriSema, these different, you know, the different mixes of the Sema and the amylin therapies and the possible once a month, you know, drugs, the pills, you know, which we're going to get into in a minute. They're doing all types of trials on everything. 2026 is your year, Grace. Go hard. 2025 was her year. She already gone hard. I think everybody that's in these comments that's content creators, we've had tremendous 2025. So let's not even make no mistake about it. We've had amazing success, and we just have to step back and see it for what it is sometimes. And 2026 will be the icing on the cake, is what it's going to be. Make sure to add the number to diabetes. It's Darium. I forgot that the recently published results for Triumph 4 were specifically for the adults who have obesity or overweight and need osteoarthritis. That's a specific group. Absolutely, that is the Triumph. It was for a very specific group, you know. And okay, so let me go back to that. So I want to go back to that too, since we're talking about that, right? So here's the thing, right? It made sense why they did that, right? Because again, understand that the RETA also is a triple agonist. So you have the glucagon, which actually increases that insulin. So for diabetics, I think that Mounjaro will remain the best of these particular class of medications that we're talking about for diabetics. I don't think Retta is going to be the thing. You know what I mean when it comes to diabetics, because even in the trials they seen that it didn't lower the numbers the way that tirzepatide does. So it's going to be kind of like, use at your own risk for diabetics, because it's now, if you have a significant amount of weight to lose, right, and you're controlled, right, then I say more power to you, and I think you should go for it. You know what I mean? Because the actual weight loss actually might also help that number. I'm saying, but if you're somebody that hasn't actually gained control of your diabetes utilizing the treatment, Zepbound, and your lifestyle modifications, Retta actually has the potential for, I don't want to say raising it, but it will have the possibility of possibly not controlling it as much as it's controlled already. You know what I mean? So if you are somebody that's still struggling with bringing that number down, when it comes to diabetes, Retta might not be the thing, But if you're very controlled and you're diabetic, go for it. Please do, because that's the other side of it. That's what we would like to see you guys get into, those higher weight losses. JC says, understand the numbers in the trials. There are studies from 2023 for type 2s and Retta and their success. Darian says, Triumph 2 is the Retta trial, specifically for people living with type 2 diabetes, estimated to end May 2026. Yes, Darren, you are absolutely correct. Tamika said, yes, I agree. 7.5 did it for me. Yes, Tamika, it did. It did for a lot of people. 7.5 is really... So I try not to be too clinical here, because I'm not using my computer. Maybe I'll start doing that. Use my computer so I feel more I don't want to say comfortable, because I'm super comfortable. I'm on my channel. I always tell people I ain't scared. I say what I want on my channel, but the thing is, I like to be factual. So what I'm about to say is I'm going to talk about the agonists, right? So Ozempic, Wegovy, is more of a GLP than GIP, right? Because it is 100% GLP. That I'm comfortable with saying when I'm looking at the computer, right? But now when tirzepatide enters the ball game as a dual agonist, it is also a GIP. So being a GIP, it is more of a GIP than it is a GLP. Let me just say that. And I read that, on one of the scientific trials, that is more GIP than GLP, right? Hence the lower side effect profile, right? Whereas you got all of these people having very high nausea, vomiting, and you name it on Wegovy, Ozempic at the beginning. And when I say this, I don't mean absolutely no one or absolutely everybody. I'm not talking in absolutes. I'm talking in averages, right? So the average person that gets on tirzepatide is not seeing those same side effects at the same rate. Why? Because it's less of a GLP, right? It's more of a GIP, right? Now, let's move the ball. And I brought that up for a reason. Let's move the ball a little bit farther to the right, to the retatrutide, because that's how they actually pronounce it, retatrutide. I'm going to say Retta until the end of time, but to be politically correct, retatrutide, right? That actually is also more of a GIP than GLP. GLP is probably the least of what's in there. The other dominant force in that retatrutide is glucagon, right? So with that glucagon, you got to be very careful as an actual diabetic, right? Because it has the potential to raise levels. So that is why you want to actually speak to your doctor before you actually, jump ship and do anything different. Gosh, I still remember your 10 milligram scare, Tamika. Wow. Losing Grace says, congratulations to your wife. Yes, congratulations to her. Thank you. I'll let her know. Congrats to Miss G's. Darian, Miss G's. Her name's Taisha too. Just for anybody who doesn't know, my wife's name is Taisha. And we're gonna do a joint YouTube video together. We'll do a joint live I'll announce it. We'll do it probably like sometime in like February, or probably March. We'll do it in March. I wanted her to be like well into her journey. You know what I'm saying? You know, like because we get to like 30 weeks and we feel like we vets, right? She's kind of like halfway there. You know what I mean? So I want to get her, another couple months under her belt. Maybe a little more weight, a little more percentage, and all that, and then she can come and give y'all her experience, in a more full way. That's why I haven't done it yet. But I know Twan had mentioned it a long time ago. Just in channel growth, people would be interested in that. So I'm not going to turn it into a husband and wife channel, but I am going to have her come on and do some of these interviews with me, so people can actually speak to her and ask her questions. Because we do it in our other business. Because we do, like I said, we are the networking business that I actually put. Y'all see our last event was it was kind of like a Cirque du Soleil type thing where we had like the fire and the LED performance and all that kind of stuff. We got another one coming up in April 12th on a Sunday. So if y'all in the Philadelphia area, I want you all to come out because it's going to be futuristic type thing where it's going to be shades of blue. So everyone will be wearing like different shades of blue at this particular event. And it will be, we're going to have like, some real special like futuristic type stuff going down. So, like I said, if y'all in the area, I'll make sure I put the link up. Y'all can, y'all should come too. Because us as GLP-1ers probably should meet up. You know what I mean? Because I know we do have these conferences, like, Darium is a part of oftentimes with the downsides, the cruise and all of that. But I'm not a cruiser. I never will be. So y'all probably will never see me on that. So, if we do want to do something, because my wife had mentioned it today, why don't we all just kind of like create something and meet up as, GLP-1ers? And hey, what better than coming to an event that we already have ready to go, with food and everything like that, for a price, obviously, but nothing that'll break the bank. It's a full buffet, great food, so, generally right around $80, 75 plus like a fee. But it's a good time. So you got your music and DJ, but we definitely should consider that. And if not, maybe making up something else where we all could probably meet up. That's not so formal, like the diabetes or obesity conference, where we can probably meet up and, get some healthy food and do this thing, in person. So that's something that I think would be cool to do if it makes sense for other people. Because I do this all the time. I create events and things of that nature. So if we want to talk more about it, we should. So back to the comments. So Tamika says, grades, I went back to 7.5 for 2 months after the 10. So 4 months total on 7.5, then went down to 5 because I wanted to eat. Well, that is good, Tamika, because it's good you had that suppression, because some people don't. So, and that's the one thing I just like looking at my own journey, that people struggle with some things. I don't know if I will. Like with some people are like, oh, I just keep losing weight. I can't stop. I don't know if that's cool. I'm on 12 and a half, and I seem to be maintaining, kind of where I'm at. But again, once I start my, like I said, the revving up the working out and being on this 12.5, I went and even possibly 15, I'll see. But I don't, and I think it will cause me to lose weight. I'm just saying I don't know if it'll be like, oh my God, I'm losing too much. I can't even stop. You know what I mean? I don't know. We'll see. This is why I love focus on percentage loss, because my percent in pounds is different from the next person, even on the same week. If people shifted their focus to percent loss, equals less comparison. So JC, you got to go back in my comments because I covered that. You came in a little bit late, but I also am one that is a proponent of percentage. So if you go back to the beginning of the video and just do a rewatch, you'll see all of that in the beginning, because I did cover that also. Because I think I wholeheartedly believe we should not be, when we actually speak publicly and we're not talking woman to woman, man to man, because of the different heights and things of that nature, we should just be focusing on percentages when we do want to do some kind of comparison of where we are in the journey, because it gives us a better idea. Like I said, I'm at 28%, 28.4% or whatever that is, or something right around there, whatever that 91 pounds is. But in the Reddit trials, like I said, they were saying that, perfection in that trial, or average, not perfect, average in that trial was 29, right around 29%, which, like I said, for me, being just a percent away from not even a percent, it was 28.7, right? And if I'm 28.4, I'm literally like right there. So to give it a male perspective, that means that I've lost 91 pounds. I was 320 pounds, I lost 91 pounds. In the trial, most people were about 250 and lost 71. So it makes perfect sense. What I was saying was, and the reason why I said I use that even for myself to remind myself of how well I've done is because I have literally lost what they're promoting on the most powerful, not approved yet, not an FDA approved yet drug. In 45 weeks, what they promote would happen in 68 weeks. You know what I mean? At the highest number, right? The average I'm talking about. It would take 68 weeks to do what I've done in 45 weeks on that particular drug in their eyes. Now, obviously, people lose more weight. So I'm convinced that if I was on that particular drug, I probably would be down 40%. And probably would be saying, hey, I don't, let me slow it down because I'm already 195 pounds. You know what I mean? That's probably where I would be. So this is why some people did drop out of that, because they lost too much weight. But percentages is the right way to go. And Grace, I was 142 on 10 milligram, not eating, and lost 4 pounds that month. So technically, I didn't need the 10 milligram. You should be fine. Yeah, I guess we'll have to see. I don't know. So again, remember, I'm only just responding to Tamika's comment. It's not necessarily about her weight loss. It's about her food noise, right? Because again, I want to. My titrating wasn't solely because of weight loss or stalling. It was because of food noise. That's why I'm at 12 and a half now. It's because of food noise. And that's why I said I don't see myself having a problem with people with the, oh, well, I'm just losing too much. I can't eat it all. No. I mean, because on the 10, when I first started the 10, the first few months, I had a little bit of that. You know what I'm saying? Like the first month, I want to say. But after that, first, it was the heart issue early on, but then when I took it again, I was fine, but I did have maximum suppression. Now, on the 12 and a half, I don't know what it's going to do because I only had it for like 24 hours in my system. Maybe I'm hoping it's that thing, you know what I mean, that actually does like completely knock it out for me and I just don't have to worry about it no more. I really do hope that, you know what I mean? So hopefully that is the case. But yeah, my pause in that, and Tamika, and you was telling Grace that basically she may be good on the 10. That is if her food noise is at bay. Not necessarily in regards to her weight, but her food noise has to stay at bay. Your food noise, it seems like you found that one. I hope 12 and a half is it for me. That's what I hope it is. But the 10 was like that one, and then boom, you was able to go down, because of that. And I know, so, and then you found like your happy medium. But for her, there may be a point where she does have to titrate up even a little bit more just to find her happy medium and then ultimately come back down to the 10, because I think that might be it for me. I might end up possibly on the 15 at some point and then bring myself back down to the 12, you know what I mean, and stay there, you know what I mean? So that's what I'm saying. That's kind of like what I'm saying, because it's food noise. I'm trying to gain 10 pounds. I haven't been successful, so y'all going to get this olive oil body. Oh my God, Jenna, olive oil body. Olive oil body? Oh my goodness, that is crazy. Well, you got to make fun of yourself though. But Jen, all you got to do is just go ahead and get those weights, you know what I mean? Because I know you only like to do the cardio, but you get you a little bit of weights or some resistance band and just start, moving up and down, doing your squats, you know what I mean? That'll help you. Yep, I have a glucagon shot for type 1 emergency lows. That's what JC said. It's a low-grade glucagon. Darian, is that like your rescue, Jane? She says yes, and glucagon works different in type 2. I agree, G's, about grades, but 2026 she will get to her goal weight. Okay, absolutely. Glucagon is what the alpha cells produce in insulin. Insulin is what the beta cells produce. That's what JC is educating us on. And Darren says, have y'all all heard the shift in conversation from merely GLP-1s to obesity management medications, OMMs, and the nutrient-stimulated hormone therapies? No, I haven't really heard a lot about that, but do fill us in on more if you do have more of that, because I'm not 100% certain of what that. Maybe I am, but I mean, just in wording it that way, maybe not. I haven't heard anything about the OMMs. Type 2 still produce insulin, so with the other two ingredients helping with the insulin function, type 2s have seen an impact with Retta. Okay, that's good. Type 1s is different because we don't produce insulin. Absolutely, that is the difference. So we would have to adjust our insulin intake to deal with the glucagon. Yes, so that's what I'm saying. Again, some studies have been done with type 1s and Retta, not as many. Yeah, so that is the thing. She said it's there. That would be a better classification for these men. Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, it's an ongoing conversation right now, right? It's ongoing, and it's good for people like you, JC, to actually be around and yes, continue to educate people on what that is, because it is important to know what you're getting into. And that glucagon, it's a thing. Like, you know what I mean? And obviously that's energy. That's energy. Just to make a just a simple word, glucagon is all about energy, right? Because it already has the GIP, which is pretty much about fat oxidation, right? Fat oxidation, right? So that's what it's about, right? The GIP, because that's what we're mainly talking about. GIP and glucagon. GLP is obviously there, but it's like I said, the concentration is more GIP and glucagon. So we're talking about fat oxidation and energy. That's what we're talking about. Those two things, right? To actually get that maximum weight loss. Because oftentimes we talk about, the fatigue, and things of that nature. This is actually Retta powering through that and allowing us to actually be more active. So that's where we're seeing that boost in that percentage, right? So if you can actually be on TERS and be able to find that boost, and that's why I got like that Pro Edge one a days. I think there are other ways we can find that energy. Some people go to phentermine, like they're on that which is a part of that old school fen. And I'm definitely don't think people should be taking it. I think people that prescribe that is kind of scary to me. I don't think they should be prescribing that at all anymore. But some people are on like 15 milligrams in that phentermine. You know what I mean? I just don't agree with that. I think you can find your energy other like Twan gets the infusions. I really don't want any more pens of anything. So I'd rather just take my one a days like here and there. So. When I say here and there, I mean like every couple of days, not every day, because the one a day that most people take are basic. I take the Pro Edge. So Pro Edge is like super much higher potency, I should say, milligrams of those same things, So I think the conversation is growing because of the new meds. This is what Darian is saying to JC. JC says, it's amazing how significant the pancreas is becoming outside of diabetes. That's an entire discussion and way to run into a rabbit hole. That's what Darian said. Graves was scared because I passed out on 10. Okay, Tamika, I understand. So here's the thing about that, right? So I think that what that is yeah. So that kind of goes into what people are talking about low blood sugar, right? If you're going up too high and then it has a potential of lowering your blood sugar to a certain place, where you can actually pass out. So yes, you do actually want to look at that. And I'm one that, like I told y'all guys, I had my actual glucose was one that was like, at the what you call, I guess, perfection, right? Because most people look at it on the scale if you're doing, I think, to 100, like between 70 and 100. I think mine's like 70. You know what I mean? If I had to put it in a A1C, it's probably like, I don't know, I want to say like a 4 point something. You know what I mean? 4.8 or 4.7, somewhere around there. I can't really remember, but it was already like there. You know what I mean? Like, so I was like as far away from diabetes as you could be. You know what I mean? So yes, that is something I think about, making sure that if you were to hit a 15, that you're actually watching yourself and making sure, you're actually not going, too far down to where you could pass out, but you got to make sure you're staying hydrated and eating. Okay, Darren. So Darren has put the study link in the chat. So please go and check that out for the topic he brought up. Losing It Grade says, I've also seen some stacking Contrave with GLP-1s. Thoughts on this? I'm just newsy. There are people who use Contrave, I think that's what it's called, to help with controlling their cravings, and the GLP-1s for other benefits. Some folks need a stack for sure. Yeah, so I am very leery of. I'm the peptides is something that I'm not a proponent of, so to speak, because for one, to inject yourself with the things we're injecting ourselves with, and again, non-diabetics. Let me go back to that. That's what I'm speaking to right now for this moment. Non-diabetics, right, that suffer with deep obesity, because a lot of people are using them for performance enhancing and getting them from the gray market. So if you can source peptides from a proper space and it be very safe, 503A most likely, have at it. You know what I mean? But Contrave, just the basics, of what that is. For me, I don't want to take it in general. So why would I want to take it along with? You know what I mean? Like I want no parts of that. I I would rather, find a different meaning. You know what I mean? So than pairing it with that. But obviously, you talk to your, physician about that, and then they can actually probably, give me. The only thing I've even compared, because I did post. If you go back into my actual post, I did put like something that the Peptide Buddy had put up, and Tirzepatide was king, but they did have some in there that were interesting, like the Samorlin. I know Round Mail said he had used that because it's good at don't quote me, but I think it boosts kind of like HGH, that human growth hormone, and actually helps to, kind of like helps in that fat oxidation process, where actually you kind of like get rid of that subcutaneous fat, which I was talking about. Light non-invasive procedure for getting rid of too. You can actually use that. So Darren just reminded me about it's the pill form. So I wanted to just cover that before I get out of here tonight. I wanted to talk about the pills, right? Since we got the Wegovy semaglutide, pills, weight loss pills coming within a matter of a week or two, I think. January, they're gonna drop at $149, and then they go up from there. I'm pretty sure that I think that's the 2 milligrams, and I think the 4 milligram is probably like $50 more. I think it goes up in like $50 increments. Jen says, my problem with stacking is it a real craving. A lot of community get hungry and get scared. Well, if you are stacking, it should yeah, you should actually be, you should actually be hungry, and I'll say, at least for me, going up in dose, I definitely felt it, and that's why I did. You shouldn't do it really quickly, and yes, you should get hungry. I think what people have to pay attention to, Jen, is not necessarily a thought, but the action, right? So if you put right there, like, you know what I'm saying, like the side, like put a little like slash next to that, put action, right? So how you decipher that, Jen, is by putting next to what you just typed, action. So not only are you thinking about, it shouldn't be about being scared about being hungry. It should be scared about the actions that you're taking based on that hunger, right? So like I mentioned, for me, how I knew food noise was up is my action. I had things I was eating. I'm like, what am I doing? I haven't eaten this stuff in, you know what I mean? So being a little hungry is okay, because you want to be alive. You want to actually, you know what I'm saying? I got a little hungry today, you know what I mean, before I ate my food. But I knew that wasn't food noise. Food noise is different because I'm yearning for things that I probably shouldn't have, and I'm acting on it, right? So that's what it is. It's more about yearning for something and acting on it that you have to pay attention to, right? Not about hunger in general. It's more about like the actual food noise driving you to take an action you should not take, But yeah, so stacking. I was thinking more peptide, but y'all went with like the drug, like phentermine, Contrave, things like that. I mean, with your doctor, I guess if they make that, if they determine that, like if you're on the 15, because some people are already there. So let's put it in perspective. Some people are, and I'm gonna go back to weight loss pills in a second, but some people are already on the 15 and been on the 15 because they've been on this journey for 3 years. I've been on a journey for 1 year, but a lot of the old school people that've been on a journey for 2 years, even 3, they're on 15. They've been there for a while, and now have found themselves starting to stack with other things because they felt like they needed help with energy and stuff like that. So if it's vitamins, I'm more power to you. I think that's fine. Whether it's infusion, through pill, whatever it is. But some of the other stuff to actually boost energy has interference with your heart, right? So that's what I worry about, when it comes to that. I worry about like your cardiac risk with some of those drugs. Some of those drugs that we talking about stacking, they go back to heart rhythm and stuff like that. Tamika says, I'm the sweet tooth girl. That's what gets me in trouble. Darren says, some folks stack with Contrave. Phentermine, I mentioned that. Topiramate, bupropion, metformin. Exactly. Those are the things. But some of those things have indication for cardiac risk. That's the problem. I'm going to be honest. 6 months in, my stomach growled, and I was taking the pill. I had been hungry in months. Oh, my God, Jen. And jaundice. Oh, my goodness. Yeah. And Jardiance. I said jaundice. Where I got that. And Jardiance. Yes. So, yeah, those are things that I would be concerned with taking those things. Is kind of like that heart, because Fen-Phen got pulled off the market for that reason, right? Because when it was doing Fen-Phen, people was having indications with heart issues, right? So we don't want to go back to that. I think that the drugs we have are to avoid that. I believe that there's more common. I believe that's more common than folks admit. Oh, absolutely, because people, you got to think about it. It takes a lot to get on the internet, get on these airwaves and be talking how we be talking and saying what we saying, right? It takes courage, to do this, right? To get on here and be talking to one another and, talking about our own families and talking about our own journey and stuff like that. So there's a lot of things we never hear, so there's things that we won't ever hear, but they are happening, so we have to take it with a grain of salt, and that's what we're here for, to be honest. But the weight loss pills, because that was the thing I was diving into. I don't know how many of you that are in maintenance that are considering that. That would be something that I would pose for the chat. How many of you are? Maybe I should put a poll, but I won't right now. But how many of you are considering like maybe trying the pills to sort of kind of maintain your weight with the pricing being what it is. And I'm kind of talking to people that's paying out of pocket. This is a conversation for you, not just to try it, but some people that are paying out of pocket that are looking at, well, hey, I can actually get on this drug and maybe pay $300 a month instead of $500 a month, or at $450 now, or if I'm at a lower dose now, maybe even be paying $250. And the reason why I say $200, because I don't think anybody's going to stay on the lowest dose of a pill, and do anything, but probably even that next dose, that's pretty much $200 a month. If you can actually spend $200 a month versus $450, is it something that you're considering doing, taking that pill every day versus taking, the shot if Wegovy or Ozempic is something that you've been using? Me personally, as long as I can remain covered through insurance, I don't think I would ever do that, because for me it's like, why? You know what I mean? If you're covered, if you're self-pay, I get it, but if you're covered, no, because I mean, who just wants to take something every single day when you're taking something once a week? And you got stuff that possibly you could be taking for once a month, at some point soon, which I think that's the, is that the Mazdutide? I think that's the one. That might be the one that might be going to be like once a month or what have you, which I would be afraid of that, because that means that you might be going through side effects for weeks, and you can't like back off of it because you're taking it once a month. So I don't know about that, but we'll see. But I'd rather stick to my once a week. It just makes more sense for me. I don't think I want to do, Hey, Vanity, how you doing? Glad that you could join us. You might have to watch the replay because we kind of like coming to the end, but we had some good conversation around, some comparisons, and Jennifer calling herself olive oil in the chat. And, we went into, the Triumph trial, Retta, weight loss percentage, and not talking about weight, but the percentages. And, and now I'm rounding it out, talking about the weight loss pills. So just to catch you up, one of my friends did, let me put my glasses back on. I take my glasses off, then I got comments. One of my friends did an article and called it Ozempic Orexia on Substack. That might be an interesting read. I can't take pill form every day. No, I can't either. I already still take one blood pressure pill. It's really small. It's amlodipine, so it's literally like this big. So it's like nothing. But to take other than that, I take Tylenol. But to take that pill every single day, I think that would just drive me crazy. So I would rather just stick to, like I said, stick to the once a week shot. You know what I mean? That just makes way more sense to me. I'm not diving into that whole arena. Unless I have to, because like I said, the gag is some are going to take both. Oh my God, Jen. Oh, you right. Some people are going to try both. That is crazy. Darian said, I can't remember to take my multivitamin. I can't be responsible for taking oral. Yeah, man. I just don't. I don't understand. I mean, I understand oral because, like I said, from a pricing perspective, yes. And again, I'm talking about the pretty much the Wegovy in a bottle. I'm not talking about the orforglipron, because orforglipron I'm still scared of. You know what I'm saying? Like I love Lilly, but that's one I'm scared, because I'm still not convinced that they actually submitted the with all of the liver with the profile that came back about the liver issues. I'm not convinced. You know what I mean? I feel like they didn't have to submit enough, when it came to that. So I think that they probably need to have more time. But I guess we'll see because people is out here ready to jump at it. You know what I mean? I think they're gonna be on it because of the price points. So I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. But I'm definitely scared of that. I don't know if that's gonna really make a lot of sense. Dealing to be taking that. But y'all can count me out of that. As long as I have insurance, and it pays for it. Hell, I might even I would probably even. I don't think I would ever say this, but I might even go compound first. Before I start taking the pill every day. I don't know. I mean, I already, like I said, I take a pill every day, but I just don't see it. I don't see it. And then like I said, the one a days, like I said, because they like they have like a ultra souped up dosing. I only have to take those like pretty much like 2 to 3 times a week, and they really work because it got a lot of vitamin B, because that's the one thing a lot of people get concerned with when they titrate and they on that 12 and a half, like I am. I started is that fatigue and all of that. But realistically, if you actually make sure that you're eating enough, because that's the one thing that I'm definitely making sure that I do, is you make sure that you eat enough. The fatigue probably won't creep up on you like that, but you will have the sleepy, sometimes that the drowsiness and all that. But those one a days are mean. I'm telling you, like them things is. Because like I said, I know like Twan, she preferred the infusions because when she went from 12 and a half to 15, she literally had to get infusions because she fell asleep driving. You know what I'm saying? And pulled over. Because on the 12 and a half, she was like saying that it was like kind of perfect. She get a little drowsy, but she could make it. But in 15, it really, so hell, me going from 10 to 12 and a half could cause a little bit of that. But I would just take those more often. That's all. Because I know what they do for me. Those will provide more energy. And again, I don't take them every day like right now because I feel like it's like overkill. I don't need to do that. It would be like really like too much. I don't see a reason, for that. But I will take them a few times a week based on how I feel. You know what I'm saying? It's Pro Edge. It's called Pro Edge. It's one a day Centrum Pro Edge. Um, it just simply says Pro Edge. So I'll probably post it so that way you can see it. But it ain't like the regular one a day. They cost just a little teeny bit more. They right on the shelf with them, but you get less. Whereas you buy one a day and you get like 250 in there, you only gonna get 50 of these. And again, it avoids injections. I just don't want no vitamin infusion and all that. I just don't like that. You know what I mean? I would, and I'm not scared of needles or anything like that. I just rather take like I said the vitamin. You know what I mean? So, but it's one a day Pro Edge. Now these are the men's. So I think they also have them for the women too. But you could actually put it in Amazon right now and it should come up. Flip it around and then you'll be able to see like all the ingredients. It has all of the regular stuff, but it's just a lot more, you know what I'm saying, of it. So and it avoids me having to get infusions, because with the infusions it's pretty much the same thing. You're just getting a bag of vitamins, shot to your system a lot faster, kind of how we are through the subcutaneous fat with our shots. But with the vitamins, I actually rather have the delayed, extended release because it actually keeps you more energized. You know what I mean? And you actually kind of like need that, obviously. So I'm already prepared for that, because I already use them now. You know what I mean? But I don't use them as much, but I know what to do. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, but that's kind of where we at with it. So I think I got a record. I'm going on 100 minutes with my live. I don't think I ever did a live this long, but I know it's been a long time since I did one, so I wanted to come in and be comprehensive because I know y'all seen a lot of things, outside of the family stuff, obviously, which was amazing. Like I said, I did share a lot of my family, my kids and, the holidays and showing all of that stuff, talked about the surgery, me going back to work soon and everything. But I just wanted to catch up with y'all and let y'all know, where I was at. And I am going to be going back to my, every Sunday. Every Sunday, you can catch me here probably at 7:30, 8 o'clock. I'll try to be on time, Darian, so I'm not fired, from YouTube. But again, like I said, what happened is there was kind of like a little nail biting situation with the game, and I ended up watching it, and it put me behind because if you wait the extra 2 minutes, then it put everything behind, So that's kind of what happened, what caused me to be those couple minutes late. So. But yeah, so if y'all could meet me back here next week, get on out of here, Darren. Fired. Meet me back here next week though, because like I said, I do have my annual physical this coming Wednesday. My blood work is in there. I'll probably be able to see my blood work in the morning, so that should be interesting because the last time I had blood work was in May, right? So we're going on into what, that's 6 months, 7 months since I had my blood panel. So That will be interesting with my annual physical, and I titrated up. So we'll have some things to discuss next week, and we'll recap my 1 year, because January 5th will make 1 year that I have been on this medication, and I don't plan on coming off. I titrated up, and I plan on staying on 12 and a half, recomping my body, getting down to that 20%, because like I said, I am really focused on I'm definitely focused on fat loss. I want to lose more fat now than weight, so to speak. Because if I lose 20, 30 pounds, I get down to 200 pounds, I still can have a little more fat than I want to have, right? So that's where I'm at. I want to lose a good 20, 30 more pounds through, the physical, work, and see what it looks like, and then go from there. You know what I mean? If I'm at the 20% or not, and then talk about anything non-invasive, because again, that's all I got. I mean, because my legs ain't, we ain't got much fat or anything going on there. My arms are really good. I actually like the way my arms look. And with me lifting even more weights, they actually probably gonna come out looking even better. I actually like my chest. My chest don't, I got a little bit more fat in one than the other. You know what I mean? So it don't give me that circumference, but I don't need no kind of gyno, what is the gynecomastia or whatever, I don't think I need nothing like that, because I don't have anything up here. So with good workouts, because I look pretty good in an undershirt. I just don't have I just have that spare tire. Like I said, that midsection that I want to actually work on, those love handles. So if I can get a little more of that, you know what I mean? But if over the next year that doesn't happen, 2027, I might be getting a little bit of that little minimally invasive getting that subcutaneous fat off them love handles, so I can wear, proper, wear the stuff shirt I want to wear the right way. Because like I said, through my clothes, you don't see it, but with the clothes off, I see that, not a lot of loose skin, nothing like that, but that's literally it. Like that spare tire ain't what I want with the weight loss. So that is it, man. If you just came in, please go back and watch it from the beginning, because I felt like this was a really good one. You know what I mean? Like I said, I don't usually have a lot of people in here on my lives and stuff, but I think I got the most important people, which is y'all, the obesity warriors. You know what I mean? The right people are here, and I thank y'all for keep coming back, and supporting the channel. Let other people know about G's One of One. Like I said, me and my wife are gonna do. I did announce that a live video together. Not yet, we still gonna give her a little more time, because like I said, she's still in the middle of the beginning. So she's about 16 weeks in, so that's the middle of the beginning, because I feel like you need to get to about 30 weeks. Once you get about 30 weeks, and like she's lost, like I said, probably around 13% of her body weight so far. But once she gets around like that 30 weeks, she'll have a lot more to talk about. You know what I mean? Just get you some CAG or some AOD. Hey man, they say that, man. You just boom, you stick that in there, you good to go. Nah, I'm good. I'm not really with the, like I said, I ain't with the peptides, man. I'm not those extraditional. Nah. Only, like I said, Smorlin, I did look at that, because that is like an old school joint that a lot of people have used before, and the problem with that is that it kind of, at least the only negative I heard is it has a potential of waking up cancer cells or something like that. And I just said, that turned me off, because I am getting my cancer screenings, just so you guys know, because I'll be 45 in, 3 weeks. And that will open me up to the availability through insurance to get a whole bunch of my cancer screening. So I'm going to get all of those early. So we'll actually recap that stuff a little later in the month too, right? I'm totally kidding. I don't get with life advice at all. I know, Darren. I know that. So yes, I want to say, good night to everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Like I always like to end all my videos, Obesity Warriors Stand Up. We're in this together. Have a good night. Later.